Frameshift drive charging. 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 Frameshift drive charging.
Mancha Emperor's Grace Academy campaign concludes.
Frameshift drive charging.
The Didiomandja Emperor's Grace Academy has announced that its initiative has reached a successful conclusion. Large quantities of exotic food and drink, and mined resources, were delivered to Leyden Frost Dock. For the past week, allowing the organization to host a sumptuous banquet and construct a monument in honor of Admiral Myra Tivarion. A spokesperson for the Didiomandja Emperor's Grace Academy released the following statement. It was a banquet fit for an emperor. The food was sumptuous, the drink exquisite, and the revelry went on well into the early hours. I am certain Admiral Tivarion would have approved. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from Leyden Frost Dock in the Didiomandja system. Ebor Research Outpost. Cobra Wing, an independent organization based in Ebor, has launched an initiative to build a new research outpost in the system.
Frameshift drive charging.
Outpost will support further research into the Thargoids, focusing specifically on the possibility of interspecies communication. A spokesperson for Cobra Wing gave the following statement. Without communication, there can be no understanding. Without understanding, there can be no peace. We ask the galactic community to support this campaign, which will support new research into the Thargoids and their methods of communication. In support of this goal, Cobra Wing has placed an open order for various commodities, and has promised to reward pilots who deliver these commodities to Morris Enterprise in the Ebor system. The organization has also placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, to ensure that those contributing commodities
Complete.
the campaign can do so safely. The campaign begins on the 12th July 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Alliance Admiral detained. A member of the Alliance Council of Admirals has been arrested by the
Frameshift drive charging.
task force investigating terrorist organization the League of Reparation. Admiral George Varma was confronted by Captain Niam Sutonia and Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez during a meeting of Admiral Distan for the Donaldson Starport in Ilioth. Despite protests, he was placed under arrest and escorted to a secure facility. Captain Sutonia gave a brief statement to the media. We have been trying to determine how the League of Reparation gained access to military-issue weapons, equipment and encryption. We now have evidence that Admiral Varma was secretly redirecting cargo shipments from the Alliance Defense Force to terrorist cells. It's highly likely that Varma is Nexus, the organization's coordinator, and we are proceeding on that assumption. The arrest has created diplomatic ripples, with federal and imperial ambassadors being summoned before the Alliance Assembly. Council member Jed Traeger told the Alliance Tribune, for agents of the Federal Intelligence Agency and Imperial Internal Security Service to abduct an Alliance admiral is an egregious transgression. They will not get away with this. The Council of Admirals has called for an independent inquiry to verify the accusations levied at Admiral Varma. Prime Minister Edmund Mahone made a public statement. This has come as a great shock, but the body of evidence against Admiral Varma is considerable. I am confident that the trial will be fair, and that our own representative within the Tri-Superpower Task Force will ensure that justice is done. Deputy Inspector Klatt was unavailable for comment. Starport Status Update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. The following starports are currently closed. Delay Survey, Ahamaka. Huston Platform, Yamahan. Malfus Terminal, Pleiades Sector, HRW, D1, 41. Midshell Ring, Carnawac. Newman Camp, Shinrata Desra. Norgay Hub, Obambori. Meanwhile, the following starports are on the brink of closure. Alexandria Dock, Tishanab. Antonia de Andrade Enterprise, Ratemir. Bernal Station, Seoul. Dix Terminal, Cheka. Hutton Orbital, Alpha Centauri. New Home Station, Sothis. Oleari Vision, Saigon. Reab Enterprise, Tashika. Sharon Lee Free Market, Aurea. Fringe religion condemns Far God cult. The Church of Eternal Void has denounced the so-called Far God cult, which worships the Thargoids. A spokesperson identified as Cardinal Hieronymus made this statement. As disciples of the Guardians, we hereby declare war on those who have sold their souls to the Thargoids' demons. We vow to expunge their poisonous creed, and purge them from the galaxy. Since this statement was made, the Church has seen a dramatic upswing in support from local communities. Juanita Bishop, who has been campaigning against the Far God sect, commented, "It's about time somebody did something. The public need to get behind the Church and help them get these alien lovers off our streets." Security forces in many systems have issued reminders that the Far God sect is legally recognized as a religion, and that any hostility against its members will be considered a criminal act. Dr. Alfred Ulyanov, a leading exotheologian, discussed the situation on the Rewired news feed. A number of doomsayer cults have emerged recently, including Homo Terminus, Nova Imperium, and the Order of Extinction. But of all those I've studied, the Church of Eternal Void differs in one key respect: it offers hope. They claim that the veneration of the Guardians will prevent Thargoid Armageddon, which is probably why they're the most popular, being based on a classic binary theology of good versus evil. It's apparent that the Church is taking advantage of animosity towards the Far God sect to promote itself. The idea of Thargoid spies in human form, although baseless, has caused much anxiety. By declaring the cult a holy adversary, the Church validates its own existence. Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. A series of successful operations against the League of Reparation has led to much of the terrorist group being dismantled. But while the group has been dealt a severe blow, agents have yet to identify the organization's coordinator, Nexus. Meanwhile, an independent report suggests that a French Thargoid worshipping cult may in fact be harboring undercover Thargoid agents. A leading exotheologian responded by saying that he did not believe the group to be a threat, despite its unsettling beliefs. Political journalist Cassia Carvalho has compiled a profile on Jordan Rochester, fiancé of Princess Aisling Duval, for the Imperial Herald. The article documents Rochester's family history, and raises the question of how he will balance being both a federal statesman and an imperial consort. In other news, celebrated author Rolav Redcourt has begun a promotional tour that will take him to over 50 destinations throughout the core systems. The tour will support Redcourt's new novel, Corsair King and the Storm of Desire, the 14th in a series of swashbuckling historical romances set in the 27th century. Didier Manger Emperor's Grace has completed work on the Tiverion Academy, a flight school for Imperial Naval Cadets, and is hosting an inaugural banquet to mark the event. The organization has placed an open order for exotic food and drinks to be served at the celebratory banquet, and issued an appeal for mined resources, which will be used to construct a statue of Admiral Myra Tiverion. Finally, The campaign to supply a scientific project in Colonia has now concluded, and construction of a resource management center has begun. Hundreds of independent pilots made the journey to deliver commodities to Tier Technology Services in the Tier system.
Orbital flight engaged.
And those are the main stories this week. A profile of Jordan Rochester. Responding to public interest in Princess Aisling Duval's fiancé, Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester, political journalist Cassia Carvalho has compiled a profile for the Imperial Herald. Jordan Rochester is now a household name throughout the Empire, though few were aware of him prior to his engagement to Princess Duval. But in the Federation, the Rochesters have been associated with success for over 200 years. The Rochester name can be traced back to self-made tycoon Apollo Rochester, who was the biggest landowner on Biggs Colony and the Altair system. Each generation since has strived for fame and wealth, and the expression "as rich as a Rochester" has become common parlance. The family matriarch is Isolde Rochester. She is a member of Congress, an influential figure in the Liberal Party and a staunch supporter of Shadow President Felicia Winters. Isolde raised 5 children, including Jordan, and it was her accomplishments that inspired her son to enter politics. Jordan's siblings chose different paths. The eldest, Jupiter Rochester, is an executive with Core Dynamics, with a personal fortune in the billions. 15 years ago he had his own celebrity marriage, to actor Thomas Turai. They now have 2 teenage children, daughter Carly, and son Kalen. Jordan's sisters, Juno and Jocasta, have impressive Navy careers, holding the ranks of Vice Admiral and Post Captain respectively. Only Jordan's younger brother, Jonah, has no title. He is believed to be the black sheep of the family. Despite being just 34, Jordan has already made his mark. He has overseen several high-level negotiations on behalf of the Federal Diplomatic Corps, and is now a trusted envoy, noted for his charm and tact. His future will be interesting, to say the least. How will he balance being both a federal statesman and an imperial consort? And what are the wider ramifications of the Rochester dynasty aligning with the House of Duval? Even more so than his predecessors, Jordan Rochester has already ensured that history will remember his family's name. The Didiomantia Emperor's Grace Academy inauguration. The Didiomantia Emperor's Grace has completed work on the Tiverion Academy, a flight school for Imperial Naval Cadets. The organization is hosting an inaugural banquet to mark the event, and to honor the late Admiral Myra Tiverion, the organization's founding member, who will have a monument erected at the site. A spokesperson for the Didiomantia Emperor's Grace released the following statement. The Tiverion Academy will provide new recruits with cutting-edge training facilities. To host a fitting banquet for its inauguration, we require help in sourcing a range of exotic food and drink. We also require a quantity of gold to make the monument raised in the Admiral's memory a truly spectacular tribute. The campaign begins on the 5th of July 3304, and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Colonia campaign concludes. The campaign to supply a scientific project in Colonia has now concluded, and construction of a resource management center has begun. Hundreds of independent pilots made the journey to deliver commodities to Tier Technology Services in the Tier system. Professor Alexei de la Vega, in charge of the research project, made this statement. With the construction of a research center, we will be able to monitor population spikes and manage resource allocation throughout the region. Pilots who contributed to the project can now collect their rewards from Bolden's Enterprise in the Tier system. Starport status update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. The following starports are currently closed. Arend Dock, HIP 17838. Gary Gateway, Tashika. Gentle Survey, Jolagro. Gordon City, Angagori. Meanwhile, the following starports are on the brink of closure. Hurston Platform, Yamahan. Malfast Terminal, Pleiades Sector, HR, W, D141. Newman Camp, Shinrata Desra. Mitchell Ring, Carnaweg. Delay Survey, Ahamaker. Cube Mugdal Enterprise, Kakas. Norgay Hub, Obambori. A Thargoid fifth column? Amid growing public mistrust of a fringe sect that worships the Thargoids, a report suggests that the group's members may be undercover Thargoid agents. Independent journalist Flint Firemaker Lafosse shared his theories via the Rewired news feed. I'm sure you're all just as creeped out as I am by those hooded monks and their stinking hive chapels. Granted, being creepy isn't a crime, and I'm as live and let live as the next man. But isn't it strange that this cult is rising just as the Thargoids return in force? The idea of humans working on behalf of aliens might sound crazy, but think about it. All those escape pods captured by Thargoid ships, what did they want them for? After a bit of brainwashing, they'd make perfect spies, sent back to infiltrate humanity using this religion as a cover. What scares me is that these freaks don't communicate. They just lurk in the dark, waiting. Why are they so mysterious? What's going on in those chapels? For all we know, they're seeding our planets with barnacles and eggs, right under our noses. Leading exotheologian Dr. Alfred Alyanov responded with this comment: I can categorically answer one point. The reason the Far God worshippers are not interested in communicating is that, from their point of view, we will all be dead soon. As for the rest of this speculation, nothing in my studies has caused me to suspect this group to be a threat, despite its unsettling beliefs. Major victories against the League of Reparation. A series of successful operations against the League of Reparation has led to much of the terrorist group being dismantled. Captain Niam Sutonia, a member of the Tri-Superpower Task Force investigating the League, released this statement. Over the last few days, Senior Agent Ramirez and I have led multiple raids against the League of Reparation. We interdicted several of their ships and located many outposts concealed within Imperial and Federal systems. The key to these victories was the decryption of their communications network. Despite meeting fierce resistance, our security forces arrested or eliminated dozens of League members. In some cases, we acted just in time to prevent further murderous acts against those descended from members of the INRA. We believe the League has been dealt a fatal blow, but we are still investigating how they gained access to top-level comms encryption and other restricted equipment, which suggests support from influential individuals. Furthermore, we have yet to identify Nexus, the organization's coordinator. We have many fresh leads, however, and expect further results soon. Milo Vesper, an editor for the Alliance Tribune, published this opinion piece. This may be great news for some, but what about our citizens? The task force should be hunting down these animals in the Alliance. We know they're here, what with Admiral Buchanan at Lathe and the trap they set for Chief Inspector Kilbride, whose bravery we will never forget. Why isn't a replacement out there on raids too? Deputy Inspector Klatt was unavailable for comment. Author begins Interstellar book tour. Celebrated author, Olav Redcourt, has begun a promotional tour, visiting over 50 destinations throughout the core systems. His new novel, Corsair King and the Storm of Desire, is the 14th in a series of swashbuckling historical romances set in the 27th century. A press release from Bone Spire Publishing stated, after many months of waiting, the next book in Olav Redcourt's pulse-pounding series is at last on sale. To mark the occasion, we have organized an epic tour so that loyal readers can meet the creator of the Corsair King, Lady Lastday, Roughkiss, and all their other favorite characters. The tour will begin in the Blatram system, and conclude 2 months later in Procyon. As with all releases from Bone Spire Publishing, readers will be able to customize the holo novel to enhance their reading pleasure. Our easy-to-use controls allow the reader to revise narrative structure, vocabulary and characterization, and the plotline will have multiple option points, enabling you to determine an ending that meets your tastes. An independent reporter approached Mr. Redcourt as he was boarding a passenger liner, but was only able to record a few short statements. These included, bounds to cross space like a damn human pinball, and nothing but meat for the sausage factory. The author's agent, Margot Hist, told the media, I wouldn't pay much attention to that. Olav was probably just thinking aloud while developing a new character. Week in review. Here are this week's major stories. Chief Inspector Kay Kilbride has been murdered by terrorist organization the League of Reparation. The incident took place in the city of New Rossif on Turnus World. In the wake of Inspector Kilbride's death, Alliance Interpol has assigned Deputy Inspector Mara Klatt to assume the role of Task Force Liaison. There has been a range of reactions to news that Princess Aisling Duval and Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester are to marry. A congratulatory message was sent from the Imperial Palace, but there was no comment from Emperor Arissa Lavigny Duval. Senator Zemina Torval was frank in her disapproval, while Senator Caspian Leopold, who was rumored to be courting Aisling Duval, was more supportive. Aegis has announced that it will allow technology brokers to reduce their requirements for items, in order to increase overall combat effectiveness against the Thargoids. A spokesperson for Aegis said the galactic community had worked hard to oppose the Thargoids, and that Aegis would therefore make it easier for independent pilots to obtain advanced weaponry and hardware. Meanwhile, an emergency report from Aegis has confirmed that the Thargoids have launched a large-scale assault on the Degiat system. The organization has called on all members of the galactic community for assistance in defending the system, which is home to the Gary Terminal Starport. A fringe religion that worships the Thargoids has become the target of hostility, with large numbers of civilian protesters reacting angrily to the sect's openly pro-Thargoid stance. Authorities have responded with assurances that the sect's members are harmless, and that criminal acts against them may result in prosecution. In other news, scientists in Colonia have announced plans to build an outpost to monitor the region's population and resources. Professor Alexei de la Vega, who is heading the project, said the proposed outpost would focus on ensuring that the ever-expanding region would have sufficient resources in the long term. Finally, an operation to support construction of an Aegis military facility in the Pleiades Nebula has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering mined resources to the Oracle, and by protecting traders in the system. And those are the main stories this week. Thargoid worshipping cult garners hostility. Public reaction to a fringe religion that worships the Thargoids is one of mistrust and hostility, according to security reports. The nameless cult believes in the coming of the so-called Far God, and the subsequent extinction of all humanity bar themselves. Their hive chapels, inspired by Thargoid design, have sprung up on several independent worlds and in a few Federation and Alliance systems. Security forces in these locations have made numerous arrests for misdemeanors directed at the sect. These include graffiti, property damage, verbal abuse and physical assault. There are no recorded cases of worshippers retaliating, defending themselves or seeking assistance. Juanita Bishop, who runs a vocal citizen protection campaign, claims she is warning the public about a genuine danger. If these Thargoid lovers don't want to be human anymore, they shouldn't be allowed to live among other humans. Our governments should pack these foul-smelling freaks into ships and send them off to join the aliens they love so much. And if they don't, it's up to us to stop them. Do you really want these degenerates to creep into your home at night and do obscene alien things to your family? Many authorities have responded along the same lines as Councillor Quinn D'Amigo of the Aran Barahan system. I would like to assure citizens that the Far God worshippers, while strange, are essentially harmless. Furthermore, criminal acts against them, including incitement to violence, may result in prosecution. The right to freedom of religion is protected by law in all systems where the sect has a presence. Starport Status Update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. To Charlouis Enterprise, TN. Goof Dock, Azrael. Hansen Platform, Djimavi. Canon Vision, NLTT 14879. Cube Mugdal Enterprise, Kakas. Rennie Hub, Euroa. Singer Orbital, Matsia. Stabe Now Survey, Cerno. Thomas Claim, Taylor. Vauculus Vision, Veroclist. Walker Port, HIP 14886. The following starports continue to experience technical issues. Sturcow Port, SPOCS 253. The following starports are on the brink of closure. Aran Dock, HIP 17838. Gary Gateway, Tasheka. Gentle Survey, Jolagro. Gordon City, Ayagori. Morgan Port, Kuanyin. Morton's Paradise, Desi. Colonia Scientific Installation Project. Scientists in Colonia have announced plans to build a scientific outpost in the system to monitor the region's population and resources. Professor Alexei de la Vega, who is heading the project, published this statement. Our recent study into the region's population increase has revealed alarming statistics. If Colonia's population continues to increase at the current rate, it could lead to a serious depletion of resources at some point in the future. Monitoring infrastructure, terraforming, logistics and other issues will require the construction of a dedicated center for resource management. This will allow us to study the aggregated data and formulate a structured solution to avoid potential problems. The campaign is being run by Tier Technology Services, one of Colonia's partner organizations, which has asked pilots to deliver commodities to Bolden's enterprise in the Tier system. The campaign begins on the 28th of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Aegis installation operation complete. The operation to support construction of an Aegis military facility in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155 has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering mined resources to the Oracle, and by protecting traders in the system. An Aegis spokesperson made the following statement. Every pilot who contributed to this operation should feel a great deal of pride in what they've achieved. The construction of this military installation will allow us to more effectively resist external aggression. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from the Oracle in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155. Restoring order in Fusang. Security forces in the Fusang system are reporting that criminal organizations in the area are executing more frequent and audacious raids on civilian traffic. Wing Commander Horatio Montana Fusang Security had this to say. Our resources are stretched with the Thargoid threat, and a certain criminal element has taken advantage, increasing their presence in the system and attacking trade convoys. While our forces are continuing to maintain order, the need to defend the system from external threats has had an impact on our overall effectiveness. With the help of Blue Creative Company, we hope to curb this sudden increase in crime, and continue to concentrate our resources on combating the alien insurrection. To counter this threat, the Blue Creative Company has placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, and has promised to reward pilots who deliver bounty vouchers to ACUS Orbital. The campaign begins on the 28th of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Thargoid assault on the Dekiat system. An emergency report from Aegis confirms that the Thargoids have returned to the core systems with an incursion into the Dekiat system. Admiral Aiden Tanner, Aegis's chief military liaison, delivered this statement. Following the Thargoids' retreat, all evidence suggested that their surface sites had become dormant. But new data from our Eagle Eye network shows that they have surged back to life, and that the star maps inside these structures are now pinpointing the Dekiat system. It seems this was only a brief respite while they summoned reinforcements from the Pleiades. Latest intelligence indicates that Thargoid vessels are now congregating in large numbers in Dekiat space. This is an alarming development for the Garay Terminal starport, which is on high alert. There are also several megaships active in the region, which are potential targets for the Thargoids. On behalf of Aegis, I am calling on all members of the galactic community for assistance in defending Dekiat. Without the aid of independent pilots, all assets in the system could be overwhelmed, with the loss of thousands of lives. Appended to the Aegis report was the following transmission from an unnamed commander operating in the Dekiat system. I've just been attacked by something. Thargoid for sure, but my computer couldn't identify it. Some new kind of scout, maybe?
Cannot comply.
Remainder of the transmission was unavailable. Aegis reduces tech broker requirements. Aegis has announced that it will allow
Frameshift drive charging.
brokers to reduce their requirements for producing
4, 3, 2, 1.
items, in order to increase overall combat effectiveness against the Thargoids. Henrik de la Soda, a senior engineer at Aegis Research, clarified this development. Aegis is aware that the galactic community has worked incredibly hard to oppose the Thargoids in the core systems. To show our appreciation, we are making it easier for independent pilots to obtain advanced weaponry and hardware. We have contacted all registered technology brokers and supplied them with additional funding, resources and manufacturing equipment. As a result, they now need fewer commodities and materials from those purchasing their designs. Our hope is that by helping pilots to upgrade their ships, we can enhance their survivability and encourage more commanders to join the fight against the Thargoids. Alliance Inspector killed by the League of Reparation. Chief Inspector K. Kilbride has been murdered by terrorist organization the League of Reparation, along with 4 other agents of Alliance Interpol. The incident took place in the city of New Rossiv, on Turnus World. A spokesperson for Interpol released a brief report. Chief Inspector Kilbride was acting on information
Frameshift drive charging.
that a League cell was operating from an abandoned foundry complex in New Rossiv. She led an assault team with the intention of capturing the terrorists. Preliminary forensics suggest that the entire complex was rigged with field explosives. Kilbride and 4 of her colleagues were killed instantly, with 7 others injured. Kilbride was one of 3 founding members of the Tri-Superpower Task Force investigating the League of Reparation. The other 2, Captain Liam Sutonia and Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez, made a rare joint statement on behalf of the Imperial Internal Security Service and the Federal Intelligence
Fuel scooping.
Agency. This is a sad day. We have lost one of our greatest champions in the fight against...
Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Three, two, Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. drive charging. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging.